Hello, Archibald Chesterfield III, and welcome to the AC3 program, the Archie Luxury channel. Today we're going to look at how do you sell a wristwatch you want to move. Now, let's look into this story here. This is from Craig Rigby. Oops, shit. Craig. And he says to me here, he goes, "Hi Arch, I'm a great fan of the show. It really makes me laugh. It also contains some good information. I wanted to buy some advice by email, proof of payment attached." He goes on, "I'm in the situation of wanting to sell a watch I bought. A two-tone GMT Master 2 2016. There must be a ceramic two-tone. He bought it for £8,450. That's about 11,000 US dollars used. But I decided I don't really like it and I want to sell it. I got some quotes from a couple of dealers, but they want to buy it back for much less than the market rate for obvious reasons. What is the best way to sell a watch like this? I don't have much history on eBay of selling items, so worry that my lack of points will make buyers want to stay away. Will a private sale on Chrono25 work? Regards, Craig." Well, thank you, Craig. Thank you so much for the question. And this is I gotta tell you, you gotta make sure you don't just jump into these things, man. This is the point. This is why you gotta really decide, do you like the watch? It's a horological journey. I love the two-tone GMT ceramic. That is a really cool watch. I think maybe you need to get your head examined. Why isn't that watch beautiful? That is a beautiful watch. I love the ceramic Daytona. Sorry, the ceramic GMT, ceramic Daytona, and the ceramic sub. And I love me two-tones. I love them. So you're not happy. Okay. This is the problem. What do you do to get rid of it? Now, I gotta tell you, I wouldn't worry about eBay. eBay is a minefield. Do not sell anything on eBay. eBay is great for selling $100 widgets, $200 widgets. You don't want to sell anything expensive because they got buyer protection. So as soon as this buyer, it's fraught. eBay is fraught with danger. What happens if you get some guy who's in an Eastern Bloc country? You're going to ship your two-tone Rolex to Ukraine? I don't think so. This is just asking for trouble. You really, really want to sell this within the UK. Now, I got to tell you, my best advice for you would be don't touch eBay. eBay is good for $100 items. It's not good for 8,000 pound items. That's 11,000 US. You don't want to sell that. Now, I've done a little bit of homework. I had a look at Chrono24, and the cheapest I can see one is about 7,500 pounds. That's for a two-tone ceramic GMT. That's about just under 10 US. So I think realistically what I would do is forget eBay. It's fraught with danger because they will screw you. You've got scammers out there who are just absolutely volatile. My best advice would be I would possibly try and sell it on some watch forums. The UK's got UK Pacific watch forums. You could try the Rolex forum. There's quite a few watch forums out there where you could post this watch for sale. I would try and get a private buyer. Now, in certain parts of the place, you might try a Gumtree or Craigslist. The thing is, you've got to be super, super careful. You've got to be really careful. When someone rings up and they want to look at it, just check them out a bit. You might say to them, you've got to be very cautious. People have been robbed, okay? People come out there and they put a gun to you and say, "Hey, give me your Rolex." You're screwed. So what I would tend to do is check how they are. If you've got a bad vibe, I would just say, "Hey, I'm not really feeling too comfortable. I really want to make sure this is legit." So I would meet them in a safe. You got to meet them in a safe place. And you got to be careful with how you conduct yourself here because there's a lot of villains around. I would be inclined to say, get some references for somebody, see if they've got some. You want to check their ID out, make sure that they are who they say they are. Any suspicions or hesitations, get out of it, walk out of it. That's a very good way to do things. So I would be very cautious and choose someone who, you got to buy the buyer, buy the seller. That's what you got to do. I really would say I wouldn't want to ship this thing overseas. Rolexes, as soon as you try and ship a Rolex, can you imagine? Then you get customs disaster. Then you get postal workers trying to thieve it. It just becomes an absolute stinking mess. You really want to do a sale where someone comes to you or you go to them and you do the deal. I often find if I'm traveling somewhere, I will get a deposit, which covers my cost of travel. In my own neck of the woods here, basically, I will ship things below 5,000 Aussie, which is about, 3,000 pounds. Anything over 3,000 pounds, I got to hand deliver it. Okay, sorry, I got to hand deliver it. And there's good reason for that, because you can really get stitched up. There are some charlatans out there. There are people who want to thieve these things from you. And I really think the best thing to do is to try and sell it within your own country. It creates, it's so much better. I mean, I know people have sold things and then, these new customers, they're a real pain in the ass. These new customers you have out there, they think they can return it if they don't like it. It's not Kmart. Only time you can return it is if I haven't listed it correctly. They want to return it if, I decided on the Submariner. And you got to pay. This is how ridiculous it gets. So these modern day buyers, I take a very heavy stance when I'm selling something like a high value thing. Like I've sold a few Pateks. I always said I want my airfare and travel expenses coughed up, because if you change your mind, that's fine, but you won't be getting a refund on my ticket. My costs to come out and see you. I don't refund that. You got to be strong and staunch, because some people are just lowballing shits. So my best advice there, I think even Chrono24, I don't know if that's really the place as an individual to sell things. That's more for dealers. You can have a private listing, but you're going to get some turd in Greece or Italy who wants you to, and it's going to be a disaster. You can smell disaster. You want to sell it to someone within your own country. So I would really advise you, forums, things like Craigslist, Gumtree, and be super, super careful. You got to be careful, because there are some really crooked, nasty people around. You could meet them in a watchmaker's place. You could meet them in there's quite a number of places at the front of, you've got to be so damn careful. If you get a bad vibe, get out of it. So that's my advice there. It's, you really, as a watch enthusiast, you've got to handle a few sales, because you're going to have to turn a few pieces over to pay for the next piece. That is how the hobby goes. So my advice to you, steer away from eBay. I would not sell any expensive watch on eBay. eBay is fraught with danger. You really want to sell it ideally within your own country. Then you don't have shipping or customs, because how are you responsible for customs of another country? I mean, all you want to do is sell the watch. So I really can't stress selling it on a forum in your own country is really a lot better. I would also make sure that you've got to be very diligent and very, very careful. If you're traveling to see this person, so I can bring it to you, but you need to give me a deposit. That also verifies who they are in case you go missing. The police can find out who put this money in. Little things like this. It's very, very good idea. But these things, selling watches, is a very nasty thing. You look at some of these watch dealers, and Paul Thorpe's been robbed numerous times. It's disgusting. You've got to be so careful when you're dealing in high-end watches. There's a lot of criminals out there, especially since they opened the gates to the Eastern Bloc and Africa. There are scammers. England is full of scammers now. There are some really dishonest people. In fact, I'd almost say to you, do you really sure you want to sell this two-tone GMT? Because it's a lot of hassle and a lot of risk for the unwary. You've got to be careful. There are some nasty critters out there. Very, very nasty critters. So you've got to be so careful. eBay, dodgy. The forums are pretty good. You can get a feeling of what sort of person it is. It's particularly handy if you know where they work or where do you want to meet. And, always meet them in a safe environment. And you meet someone at a coffee shop or something like that, you can say, well, this is the watch, okay? Before you don't just hand it to him and say, oh, what do you think? You got to be careful. These people, you got to be very careful. Now, most of the time, people are honest buyers, but you got to watch out for that 1 or 2% of crooks and charlatans that are out there who will try and relieve you of your goods. So I can't stress it enough, security, security, security. Be careful, and I honestly would say you got to sell it within your own country, because can you imagine you send it to someone and then it gets nabbed and respond reasonably enough. I mean, you say buyers are just so dealing with selling watches is a horrible thing. You have people say, oh, why should I pay customs? You sent the watch. Customs is the responsibility of the buyer. It's not the seller's fault that you get nabbed. So personally, I make it for something like a Rolex. There's no way in the world I'd put that in the post. No way in the world I'd send it by FedEx. I've had Rolexes stolen by FedEx. I've had Rolexes stolen by, there is some really, really nasty, you've really got to hand deliver it and sell. So be cautious, be careful. I think try a forum. And maybe like a Gumtree or a Craigslist, see how you go. Be extremely, 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 extremely cautious. There are nasty people in this world, so be very, very careful. And if you don't feel comfortable, back out of the deal. And I would be inclined to wear it and show it and say, hey, you're happy? Okay, how do I know you got the money? If you don't get a good vibe for the person, tell him, look, I don't feel comfortable. See you later. That's how it is. You got to be so careful. It is a vicious world we live in. I'm Paul Pluta. This is on the Archie Luxury channel. Tell me what you guys think. How would you sell a watch? Because eBay, I think eBay's a cesspot of trouble. So that's my advice. Tell me what you think. Put a comment below. What do you think, guys? How would you shift a watch? I think he should rethink whether he wants to sell it. A two-tone GMT, that's blue chip stock. That is honestly as good as it gets. Why would you want to flick that? But anyhow, the pontiff has spoken. I'm Archibald Chesterfield III. Tell me what you guys think of that.